What up, Mafia Nation? I'm MAGZ.
I'm LVT.
We're here to do another reaction video for you. Let's get it.
All right, y'all. We're here. We're back. It's time. Sabaton history. I love doing these, which is such a shock because I am not a history buff.
Me neither, but they definitely find a way to make it interesting. And they always find the best stories. Like, they don't just like pull out a random story and be like, oh yeah, this is what happened here. They pull out like the best of the stories that happened during war times, and that always blows my mind.
Yeah, and they just, the way that they tell it, it's very hard to not be captivated, especially by Indy's voice. He's just got a voice that makes you want to listen to what he has to say.
He's got that smooth jazz voice.
And Joakim's in this one, and we love Joakim.
I do. I know he's
hilarious.
I already know he's gonna pull some antics.
I know, and I'm very, very excited for it. Well, unfortunately, I'm gonna have trouble pronouncing this, so...
Unlivsted i Krig, the 30-year war.
Okay, well, thanks,
That
Ryan,
sounds familiar.
because I would have butchered that so horribly.
The 30 Years' War sounds familiar. I just can't put what it's from.
Well, we about to find out, but before...
Make sure you subscribe.
Smash that notification bell.
And don't forget to like, comment, share so everybody you know can do the same.
All right.
Indy Neidells.
Let's go hang out with Indy and Joakim.
Jag heter Indy Neidells.
Och det här är Joakim från Sabaton och detta är Sabaton History.
Jajamän.
Okay. They done switched it up on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, sorry, what?
30-åriga kriget var ett av de största krigen i världshistorien som kostade miljoner liv.
Och vår låt Livstid i krig är inte bara på ett annat språk utan det är också en helt annan personlig vinkling.
Okay.
Vi har redan gjort det här på engelska.
So I get it. They're doing it in a different language because the song's in a different language.
Okay.
I don't know if the whole thing's gonna be like that.
But it said we've already done the English version, so...
Well, then I guess we could stop this and find the English version then. You sure they said they did the English version?
Yeah, well, look. Keep going.
30-åriga kriget var ett av de största krigen i världshistorien som kostade miljoner liv.
Och vår låt Livstid i krig är inte bara på ett annat språk utan det är också en helt annan personlig vinkling. Vi har redan gjort det här på engelska.
We've already done this for the English version.
Okay.
But now we're going to do this in Swedish.
Please stand by.
Please stand by. Do, do, do,
Where's
do,
music?
do, 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 do. I was giving him elevator music.
I'm not seeing it though. Sabaton history. Unlivsted i Krig. Goodness gracious. Enjoy the Carol of the Bells. I'm gonna try to find this. There it is. In my defense, I just went off of what the next video had requested, and that was the thing.
Ready?
Yeah.
So we can edit the... And we're back! Ready? And we're back!
And we're back.
And it's not with Joakim this time, because we don't speak Swedish.
No.
And reading subtitles is too difficult while paying attention.
I'm Indy Neidells.
And I'm Per from Sabaton, and this is Sabaton History.
The 30 Years' War, 400 years ago, pitted Catholic Europe against Protestant Europe.
And 30 years was pretty much what you would call a lifetime of war.
Yeah, especially back then.
Two ways to rule the world, to justify their crimes.
They all had some mad mustaches.
Earlier. By 1618, the Holy Roman Empire had grown deeply divided into Protestant, Lutheran, and Catholic territories. But this mostly German empire, even though in reality more
Can we
of a
talk about how his background's different in this one?
Empire had grown
wanna talk
deeply
about that
divided
real
into
quick?
Protestant, Lutheran, and Catholic territories. But this...
Oh wow. Yeah.
It looks like he's shooting from like his home instead of like a stage set up museum.
Yeah, kinda. I could see that.
You know what I mean?
It's a very cluttered home.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't mad about it. I'm kind of hoping that's real wine and that.
Yeah, I like
Thing
that.
right
I like
there.
his goblet. It's got a dragon on
Yes.
it. I like dragons.
It does have a dragon on it.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
sorry.
mostly
Distraction.
German Empire, even though in reality more of a multicultural patchwork of many duchies and dioceses, was still technically an empire ruled by a single emperor of the Habsburg dynasty, and it was his duty to uphold the peace and the rights of his subjects. Emperor Ferdinand, however, who had promised religious freedom to the aristocracy upon his coronation, was going back on his word, and now
Shocker.
pursued a new policy of re-Catholicization of his crown lands.
No kings in
Mainly
history have ever
Protestant
done that.
Bohemia,
No,
this meant
never.
closing down Protestant churches and
They're
empowering
all
the lesser
honest.
Catholic clergy once again. For the Bohemians, this did not just threaten the open practice of their religion, but the actual real power of the mainly Protestant landowners. As their protests were repeatedly ignored, powerful Bohemian aristocrats finally came together against Habsburg rule. In Prague, the Bohemian capital, on May 23rd, 1618, they took action and threw the imperial officials out of the window.
I was gonna
This was
say,
the
why
second
did they were
defenestration of
throwing them
Prague.
out the window?
word comes from Fenster, the German word for
Yes, they
window.
are.
So to defenestrate is to chuck someone out of one. Okay, with this
My.
symbolic defenestration, they had, in actual fact, openly declared war on the authority of the empire. For the Czech patriots and anti-Habsburg radicals, this was a welcome chance to take up arms. Rebellious provinces sprang up all over. They secretly raised militias and hastily organized detachments of Bohemians, Moravians, Hungarians, Silesians, and hired mercenaries fell on imperial outposts and blocked their supply lines, hoping to gather support from yet other provinces with a series of quick successes. Protestant rebels even stormed the Hofburg in Vienna in an attempt to physically seize the emperor and force him to sign their demands. The rebels rejected Ferdinand and the imperial constitution and wanted a commonwealth of their own, like that of Poland and Lithuania, led by their own king in a constitutional monarchy. Their uprising failed, however, as the Habsburg emperor was not without friends and support. Imperial propaganda portrayed the Bohemian uprising as arch treachery that disturbed the peace of the empire, and many staunchly Catholic dukes pledged their allegiance to the emperor. Ferdinand had been caught off guard, sure, but he had no intention of giving up the crowns of Hungary or Bohemia, which might even jeopardize the structural integrity of his whole empire, and he was determined to go on the offensive, to quell the rebellion with fire and sword. The war itself seems at first like localized rebellions over cultural and religious differences, but in reality, it revolved around the future of the Holy Roman Empire. Which was the primary Christian religion? Who had the power, the emperor or the dukes and their possessions? Political unity under one belief, or even more fragmentation with religious liberty? Ferdinand's strongest ally came from Bavaria. The zealous Duke Maximilian re-established the Liga, a covenant of Catholics, and raised an army with the blessing of the papacy. Under the command of his paladin, the Count of Tilly, they were eager to take the fight to the Protestants and forced them to battle in late 1620. The Battle of White Mountain was one of the first major engagements of the war, and one of the most decisive ones. Tilly's forces, better led and supplied than their enemies, won a major victory and then took Prague that winter. But as kings and dukes quarreled over cities, estates, and property rights, for the common people living in Prague and the villages along the trail of armies, the horrors that accompanied war became reality. And this was not a temporary situation, because this war is called the 30 Years' War, because that's how long it lasted.
No.
And it is often said about the war that the longer it went on, the more the violence and cruelty intensified. But really, the seeds of uncontrolled violence were already planted in the early stages. Discipline among the common soldiers was usually pretty low, and more so on the side of the rebels. Irregular forces particularly raged among the local populations. Polish skirmishers, Hungarian raiders, and Croatian cavalrymen terrorized panicked peasants and refugee columns. Marauders and bandits roamed alongside the marching armies, and the enlisted
Jeez.
soldiers were
Sorry,
often
guys.
not much better
I
behaved.
scratched and
Especially
the mouse
after-
moved and it was all bad. It's just,
Like warfare back then, like it's still like that in some places, but like we've come a long way to where they try to keep civilians out of it. But war back then was just complete anarchy, and like
yeah, it was.
I don't see how it was helping anybody's cause by attacking
Yeah.
peasants and villagers. Like
No, it was literally just torment of like, we're bigger than you, we are badder than you, we have this over you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's like a dick swinging contest, essentially.
at that point, it's just, oh man, there's a war going on. Yeah, I want to kill some people. I don't want to kill people that can kill me though, so I'm gonna kill these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the enlisted soldiers were often not much better behaved, especially
Can
after
you bleep
long
me with a sound effect?
Sure.
Little dick energy. What that is.
Enlisted soldiers were often not much better behaved, especially after
You're
long
welcome.
and dangerous sieges, when pumped up and often drunk soldiers had been forced to storm a city under fire. They would afterwards take out their rage and fear on the locals. From house to house, they plundered and stole everything they could carry. If they did not find anything, or if others were quicker than they were, because it was first come, first serve when it came to plundering, they would turn on the helpless citizens. Men, women, and even children were brutally tortured for the slightest chance of hidden valuables. Since this was often the only way the soldiers could make actual money to feed and equip themselves and their families, they could not afford to show mercy. Many simply embraced boundless,
messed up.
unchecked violence as a new way of life. The fall of Prague marked the collapse of the Bohemian Confederation, but the war itself obviously did not end, as the triumphant Ferdinand failed to take advantage of his victory. He would not listen to any compromise of his demands to restore his full authority. There was no chance for religious equality after the revolt, and instead, he condemned captured rebels to an agonizing death, while the
What
escaped
are they
ringleaders were under
doing?
an imperial ban.
You saw that, right? The
Dude hanging by his arms up in the air. Yeah.
up in the air.
He
Like,
condemned
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
what in the hell? Like, that's just a step further than, like, listen, you're already plundering these poor innocent people's houses. When, in most cases, most civilized human beings are like, oh, soldier, protecting whatever.
That's nowadays. Back then, regular people feared war for this exact reason, because there wasn't a series of checks and balances like there is a lot of times nowadays. And like these people that they're torturing right now, these are the people that they're actually fighting, that they're torturing now, because they have a different religious view than them. This is the whole reason of this war, is because they had different religious views. And that's why in the next one, when the guy's on the wheel getting messed up, they have the cross over him, because, you know, basically it's like purge the evil out of you. And
Right. It's just, it's why there's a separation of religion and state, because things like that cannot intertwine and end well. But unfortunately, as history has taught us, you have to make a mistake to learn from it.
oh yeah.
I just wish that, you know, one part of the world could have learned from the other part of the world, instead of like, oh, we're all just going to make the same mistake over and over and over. We can't learn from our neighbor.
I mean, in hindsight, if you think about the way things used to be back in the day and how much people didn't really get along, it's amazing we're still here.
Yeah. Well, moral of the story is people suck.
There was no chance for religious equality after the revolt, and instead, he condemned captured rebels to an agonizing death, while the escaped ringleaders were under an imperial ban. Together with the confiscation and distribution of rebel property, this just further escalated the war and drove many new Protestant champions to the cause of the rebellion. The war, that began as a rather localized conflict in the east and center of the empire, spread to the north in the 1620s. Imperial and Liga forces entered the zones of influence and interest of other great powers. In 1625, Danish King Christian declared war on the empire to secure his influence in northern Germany and portray himself as a
They're all
Protestant
fighting each other. I'm
savior.
just gonna come on
the
in here.
Hanseatic League outright refused
Let's just
cooperation
add
with
more
the emperor
bloodshed.
and
Why not?
insisted on its autonomy and neutrality. The Polish sovereign Sigismund, on the other hand, was sympathetic to the imperial cause and introduced the Cossacks to European warfare, but also attracted the attention of the Swedes. In 1630, under the king and Lion of the North, Gustav Adolf, they set out to secure their interest in the
deserved a neck
Baltics.
crack, huh?
A strong Catholic influence in the north could not be tolerated by the ambitious House of Vasa, while Spain, themselves busy with Calvinist rebels, also
It's
sent out
amazing a
troops to
world
help
war
the
didn't happen
Imperials.
sooner.
The French, who would
they're
rather
here,
see
so
a
we're gonna get here.
fragmented
They're here, so
Protestant
we're gonna get here.
Germany than a unified Catholic one, at first supported the northern forces with money, until in 1635, to prevent a peace treaty, they entered the war themselves. The war grew and grew, as did the armies, as did death and suffering. New knights appeared on the chessboard. Rich and ambitious men like von Mansfeld or Wallenstein aimed to get even richer through the war. Von Mansfeld tried to establish his own legend in the defense of Protestant liberty, while Wallenstein, on the opposing side, raised thousands of men for the emperor in his own pursuit of elevating his status among the nobility. War was business. War gave common but ambitious men a chance to rise in society. Experienced mercenary groups traveled from engagement to engagement and fought for the highest bidder. But the way to the top was paved with the blood and lives of thousands, then millions of men. Killing had become a normality, and authority broke down everywhere as the war expanded. Harvests were confiscated, cattle were slaughtered, people starved on the streets, and besieged cities even resorted to cannibalism. Peasants took to guerrilla fighting and formed robbery gangs and militias to fight off the marauders, but the major killer was disease. Where armies go, sickness follows, and for every battle, thousands more died of a variety of diseases like plague or Hungarian fever. Rodents bred in the crowded cities, wolves roamed the countryside, and cats and dogs disappeared in the kitchen. Religious hatred rallied religious zealotry, and many captured priests and nuns were murdered and mutilated. Popular acts of barbarism included pulling ropes so tight around people's necks that their eyes popped out. The Schwedentrunk was especially disgusting, forcing the victim to swallow large amounts of liquid excrement. Another fun game was to make criminals or deserters gamble for their lives and punishments. The lucky throw of dice would decide if a man lost a hand, his tongue, or his life. Trees were full of the other unlucky ones. There are only estimates as to how many people died, as records naturally lack specific data. The highest estimates are of a death rate of 40% of the population compared to the pre-war population numbers within the empire. But even with the lower, nowadays more
Killed
often
off
accepted numbers
40%
of
of
around
their
15%,
population.
we speak of a war that was possibly, or
Again,
even likely,
I'm surprised we're still
the
here.
deadliest that ever raged in Europe by percentage, including both world wars. In the public conscious, it was not only a war, though, but a 30-year tragedy that ravaged the German lands and killed so many people, it would take many decades to replenish those lost. A whole generation of people lived through 30 years of war. From when they were born until when they were up to 30 years old, they knew no life but constant war and terror. And there were even soldiers that served from the beginning in 1618 to the end in 1648, often in different armies on changing sides, but still serving. And who could have predicted that the war would last so long? Between all the religious ideals and politics, who could have made sense of all the violence? Who could have avoided it? Who wanted to and who didn't? There was plenty of time to answer such questions. 30 years. 30 long years of war.
This is going to be a slower song, and it's definitely appropriate for the situation.
So, Per, what are we going to see now?
We have some really amazing footage that pretty much nobody have seen. We shot a music video for a Lifetime Award.
Yeah.
very few people know about it because nobody have seen it.
I didn't know about it. I haven't seen it.
I have not seen it because actually the footage was lost.
Well, lost? Like somebody left it on a train or something?
And no, the guy disappeared. The guy who filmed it, he disappeared.
I'm sorry, that's
and
funny.
until today, we have not been able to obtain the original footage.
Okay.
So
That is a musician's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
We just paid you all this money, and you just shot this badass music video, and then you fell off the face of the earth. Where's our shit?
Yeah.
Like, Bob's head would have exploded. Could you imagine paying for a music video?
feel
And
like-
then the director just like, okay, well, we shot it, and then he falls off the face of the earth.
I feel like Bob would have went full Liam Neeson on him. Yeah. I will find you, and I will kill you.
Yes. Accurate.
today, we have not been able to obtain
Yeah.
the original footage.
Okay.
So
So if he's out there, maybe he can return the footage?
that would be great.
That'd be great.
But until then,
Yeah.
we actually had our fantastic fan club in Poland, the Polish Panzer Battalion, who were there with us when
Okay.
we were shooting this. And they helped us to produce kind of behind the scenes of this.
Okay, during the video. shoot.
Yeah. What we're gonna see now is pretty much behind the scenes of a music video that never
Nobody's
became
never
a-
seen.
I feel dirty.
I feel dirty.
I love him. You're dirty. So fucking dirty.
Well, you are covered in dirt, and there's dirt blowing up around you, so that would make sense.
Oh.
Okay. Well,
Could you
and there
imagine,
have
like,
it,
you're
ladies and
shooting a
gentlemen.
music
Hope you
video and then
enjoyed
just
that
a
today. I
chunk
certainly
of
enjoyed it.
dirt
That was
just hits you in
totally
the
new for
head.
me,
And that was supposed to be the music video for A Lifetime of War, which never happened.
which never happened. And maybe one day we will actually get to see that video if that guy brings back the footage.
Resurface.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for today, pair. We'll see you next time on Sabaton History.
That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Sabaton History Channel. There will be another one every week until we run out of songs. It's gonna take a while. So until then, enjoy it, support us, become subscribers, become patrons, and see you soon.
Thank you, Bar.
Yeah, that was I can't believe I've never heard of the 30-year war. and-
I've never heard of it, and I will absolutely, without a doubt, say that turned my stomach a lot.
Yeah, it really opened your eyes to, like, a lot of the stories that we've seen are like the good things that happen and the few heroes that stand apart from the people trying to make things better, and then this is just a prime example of what.
Why humanity sucks sometimes,
Yeah,
and how people can just be absolute shitbags.
I mean, most places have come a long way. Like,
Yes.
a lot of warfare is not conducted in that manner. They don't purposely try to go to kill civilians and rob them. In a lot of places, there's some places that are still like that because they're they're third world, and a lot of times
That's what
they get
that's
rebels
what
that
they
just yeah. But for the most part, on a worldwide scale, we try to conduct warfare in a manner that does not involve civilians. We try to bomb stashes and military bases and headquarters, stuff like that. So to really see and hear about how war was conducted back when, they didn't have good transportation, they didn't have effective communication, back when it was just word of mouth and you don't know what's going on. You just know what you're told from here to here to here to here to here to here to there to there to here to here to here.
And I don't know if you've ever played telephone.
Yeah, that's like a big old game of telephone.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's a shame that so much bloodshed and so many unneeded lives had to come to an abrupt halt or to go through so much torment for no reason whatsoever. Everybody's allowed to be different. You're allowed to have a different religious belief. You're allowed to have a different political belief. You're allowed to, as long as you're not hurting somebody with your belief system, who gives a shit?
Well, back then that was a way of them controlling people.
Yes.
Was that way.
It's
so.
still like that now.
It's still like that now, but they're not going to blatantly go out in the street and just be like, oh, you're different. The government's going to issue.
Yeah, let's hang you by your hands. freaking 30 feet in the air.
Either way, really enlightening video. Disturbing, but enlightening.
Yes.
If you guys have any other recommendations, let us know in the comments below. Check out our Discord. Or if you want to bump to the top of the list, make sure you check out the donation link in the description below. What else we got?
We also have all of our social media scrolling below for you. Also, when you go down and possibly check out that donation link, right next to it, there's a link to our merch store.
There is a link to our merch store.
We got some new stuff coming for you guys fairly soon, maybe for 2021.
Yeah. Keep some eyeballs peeled for that.
Peel them eyeballs.
Just make sure you send LVT the skin when you're done. She likes the eyeballs.
That's so gross. Don't make me sound weird like that. Don't know.
But no, yeah. If you guys do happen to get any of our merch, please feel free to send us in pictures and stuff. We like to see how everybody's liking their gear, and we like to share pictures of everybody wearing it.
Yes, come join the Mafia Nation, fam. Let's go.
But, yep. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time.